You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers become the first franchise in history to win 6 Super Bowls.
Playoffs? What talking about? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Touchdown! Kansas City! Damian Williams! Forward! Diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title for the Patriots!
What do you think having a 37-year-old?
We're on to Cincinnati.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. NFL Unhinged, Week 12, third time we're coming at you. I know we keep jumbling everybody up who's going to be on the show. Zach hosted last week and had a fun, exciting episode with everybody. I get to be back on this one and get to be in the middle of the trash talk because from what I heard from last Sunday, there was just a lot of barbs flying back and forth, mainly from my co-host on the far end of the bench podcast, Niko, and Jim with the J-Dash. So they're going back and forth at it. But we're back. We're going to have recap of last week in the NFL, look ahead to this week with our pickem because now we keep track of the records and everything moving forward. And we had 3 games that happened on Thursday instead of our usual one. So we'll have a lot of football to talk about, a lot of news coming out today. But first, let's go ahead and introduce everybody, go around the table. I know Niko's got something planned, so we'll go him last. Kelcey.
Yeah. How about them Cowboys? Yeah. You like that,
he's going last. Did he not?
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just like Cowboys fans jumping the line.
Cowboys hat on.
God, are you sure he's not a Cowboys fan for real?
Oh, I hate the Cowboys. I can't wear this shit for too long.
I hate the Cowboys, and I'm a Cowboys fan, so we have a lot in common.
Burning passion. So no, I ain't lasting that long. But it's good to be back, man. Like I said, I'm on a heater from last week. I got yelled at, ridiculed, and just bamboozled saying that, this is going to be a thumbnail. Niko's an idiot for picking the Cowboys. And here I am with the best record my first week on the show. So talk to me now. Talk to me nice. Let's go.
You can't lie with the results. I mean, what does anybody got to say? Kelcey, how about you be the first to respond? Because I'll let Jim think of something good to put Niko down with. But Kelcey, how do you feel about the Cowboy fan?
Like a blind squirrel gets his nut every once in a while. So, I mean, it's your first time ever.
I only lost 3 games last week.
Back it up with this week's results, and we'll see. But right now, my first week was just fine too. I had a winning record, but last week I had a little shameful record. It's okay. But we'll see what you can do in week 2. I'm interested to see in week 2.
Everybody wins one. It's when you can back it up. DJ, you missed last week as well, but you're back, and you got any insights of how'd you think that the last weekend in the NFL went before we get rolling into today's episode?
I thought it was fun. It was a good last week. A few nail biters, not as many complete ass whoopings, and I'm just kind of happy there was no COVID last week, so we can go back to that. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's going to be that'll be a topic of discussion, I'm sure. We're going to get into that one. Jim, it's been a week. You had to take you dominated in the first week of the pick'em, and then you kind of had to take a step back. Niko came in, swooped the number one spot from you on the Monday night game.
The real number one picker is back in the game.
So, I mean, how are you holding up after that tough loss, and how are things looking forward through the rest of the pick'em this episode?
I'll take it like a NBA playoff type of situation. I lost game 3. I mean, I lost the road game on the road. Okay. You got to give credit where credit's due. He picked the Cowboys like a dumbass.
No, there's no credit for picking the Cowboys and winning.
Being the only one who picked the Cowboys, I deserve credit. You picked the Jaguars.
Picks the Cowboys.
You picked the Jaguars against the Steelers. That was the dumbest pick of the week.
Everyone on this show picked the Green Bay Packers besides me, and I picked the Colts, and I got ridiculed too.
Yeah, but
whoa, hold on now. I picked the Colts.
You did, Kelcey?
Kelcey did pick the Colts. Yeah.
Oh, he did pick okay, me and Kelcey were there, all right?
And I got extremely ridiculed from this man over here that's a Cowboys fan.
Hey, F the Cowboys. I only like making sure – I like making an emphasis on points I win. And the reason why I won last week was because of the Cowboys. So that's why I'm a competitive nature. And since the Cowboys won me the pick 'em last week, then I'm going to be a Cowboys fan for about 2 days, and then I'll go back to hating them because they're
How'd that benefit you this week on the bet?
Yeah, I'm not a Cowboys fan. Like I said,
Yeah.
I was
I
stupid
thought
of
so.
me to pick them twice. I picked them Thursday on our show this week, and it was just dumb of me, and I shouldn't have done that. That was luckily the Thursday picks don't count for our pick 'em, so it doesn't matter.
But you were trying to get these to count over the weekend when we were calculating, because I said you were 9-3, and you said technically you were 10-3 because you did pick last week's Thursday night game, right? So you got to pick one side.
Either way, I still won last week. It doesn't matter. We're on a new week. We're starting Sunday.
Yeah, it's a new week, and DJ mentioned it. We got more COVID stuff to deal with. We were robbed of a Thanksgiving nightcap, unfortunately. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens now been postponed to Tuesday night, so we're going to get some more Tuesday night NFL action. Wasn't bad the last time that we saw it. I believe it was the Chiefs and Bills the last time, but it's the second time Pittsburgh has now had a game canceled week of to COVID and have to move it again. Players aren't happy. The league doesn't seem to really be doing much to the teams that are causing the scheduling issues. So I guess what we'll start off with is, should the NFL punish the teams who cause these more than they do? And then in this specific situation with the Steelers and the Ravens, what does this mean for the game coming up? Because this was a pivotal game for Baltimore. Does this benefit them? Does this maybe turn the Steelers on a little bit more because they've been slacking a little bit? Maybe they go out and play a little bit harder. So I'll start with my co-host Niko. What do you think of this situation with Pittsburgh and Baltimore?
Well, considering the first half of the season, how it was happening like every other week, and it was getting ridiculous. Like now, where it's a point where everyone's had their bye week, it's very, very tough. And I think now you got to looking at things where you maybe take a third round pick away or fourth round or late round pick or whatever away from a team just because they don't follow protocols. Because at this point, like we said, it's coming down on the wire. If this happens to a team that's not in the playoffs, say like the Jets or whatever, you can blow by it. But considering both these teams are playoff teams, you have to look at it differently. And the Steelers they're undefeated. The Ravens are right there in the wild card position as well. Like it's a very pivotal game. And considering this game may not be played now, how is that going to work out for the playoffs? Say the Ravens are one game back or whatever because they didn't play an extra game and they missed a wild card by one game. What the hell happens there? I mean, it's a whole ridiculous thing. Hopefully he gets to play Tuesday, but I did see that another Steelers coach got tested positive this morning, so that's still up in the air, but who knows? But I think it's just ridiculous that playoff teams especially, you got to hold your teams to higher standards.
Yeah, I thought the Tennessee situation was really bad. They let it get out of hand, and then the NFL came
They've
back.
Controlled it now, though, at least a little bit.
They've they've tightened up a little bit, but during the beginning of the season and through the summer, tightened up. No pun intended. I'm good at that. We established on our show, I'm good at the accidental clipboard material. Kelcey, what do you think of this situation? I mean, Baltimore now needs to win because they're the last team looking in. If the season were to end, they're the 8th seed right now. So what happens with this game and now it being played Tuesday night? What changes?
Yeah, honestly, this is ridiculous. I mean, you talked about the Tennessee thing earlier, them getting out of hand. This is the second one now, and as Niko mentioned, all the bye weeks are gone. There's no adjusting a schedule really, except for moving it to a Tuesday and hoping everybody's healthy. I mean, maybe get an extra week at the end of the schedule. You got to start penalizing people. This is crazy. I mean, whether it's just straight up a forfeit, like if the team who has the most positives, they just forfeit, done, over with. I mean, you got to do better. I mean, this is the second time with Pittsburgh we've seen them breaking protocols. I mean, and now Baltimore's breaking protocols. Something about that AFC North needs to fix themselves.
I don't give credit to the Steelers often because it's an in-division rival, and I think that I don't like the franchise as a whole. But I would say that they're probably at the most detriment of this because in the two matchups that got moved for them, they were the team that was actually not the one that had the outbreak. The Titans had the outbreak initially. That's what got that game moved. And now the Ravens have the outbreak. That's what got this game moved. So I would say, the players have every right to be upset. They lost out on their bye week after their first game was moved. Jim, do you think the Steelers have a right to be upset with the NFL? And do you think that the NFL has the authority to maybe do something a little bit more about the positive test and if a team has an outbreak?
Well, first off, the NFL should have adapted the same protocols like Major League Baseball because MLB – as you know, had problems early with the Marlins, Cardinals, and I want to say the Phillies. And the first narrative we heard from that week was dear God, this season's over because of, these two teams, and people are wondering where they're going to make up the games. And unlike football, you can make up those games in baseball. You can play double headers. But as the season would progress, Major League Baseball really didn't have any issues. They had maybe one or two players and maybe a support staff member, but never, a whole coaching staff or a whole, side of a team, like a starting five or something like that.
Mhm.
Starting five, that's basketball. Idiot.
Starting
But still, you got to see the Ravens backed out because of the positive test, and Pittsburgh went after them like, we were ready to play this game. What the hell is going on? You backed out. And now you hear the news in Pittsburgh. This is where the NFL needs to decide, should we have all these games back a week, maybe next week, and have a bye week for teams that need to play a game? They can play a game. If they can't, well, they have an extra bye week, because if they want to, make it legit, you have to do that. But the NFL's already stated that if there's a certain amount of games canceled coming up towards the end of this month and next month, that the playoff format will be increased from 7 to 8. So technically, Baltimore will still be the 8th seed if they get in. Mm-hmm. And I think you should not cater to a team that violate protocols. You're the 8th seed. Technically, you should be in the postseason, but because you didn't, follow the protocols, you're just finding a way to sneak yourself into the postseason. I don't think you should reward teams like that.
The whole situation seemed a little bit shady just because it's the second time that the Steelers, granted, it's easy to take a look at the Steelers right now because they're the only undefeated team left in the league. And this is the second time that it's happened to them. DJ, do you have any idea, like anything that the NFL could do in your mind that would maybe help the situation not repeat itself? Because it's been repeating itself a little bit. It went away for a while, but it seems like it's starting to lean back towards everybody losing protocol and starting to have outbreaks. So is there anything that you think the NFL can do to maybe curb this a little bit before it gets too bad?
I see it as kind of a slippery slope considering the virus spreads faster than passing gas in an elevator. So it's kind of hard unless you find that somebody did break protocols, like not wearing a mask in the facility, kind of like they talked about the Ravens coach who was punished and the Titans coach. In that case, you kind of have to, I think you have to do something, whether it's take away a draft pick, forfeit the win, whatever. But you still have to investigate to find that. I don't think just because you get a quick COVID positive, you lose the game, too bad, so sad. Because that could have been somebody's wife was reckless and passed it to them, or some side piece was reckless. There's too many variables in that case. So I think it depends on what their investigations show when they look into it. But at this point, with the Steelers also having positives and the Ravens, I feel like this game this is where Week 18 could come into play. They should just add something like that. I don't hate the 18 playoff thing, and then have Week 18 as kind of everyone fills in the games that were missed. If your team didn't miss any games, you get an extra bye week, which in the NFL, I don't hate the extra bye week idea because injuries, and then you throw COVID on top of it. So it almost has a reward for teams that follow protocol in a way, but I feel like it's a slippery slope because the teams that get their games moved while they did follow protocols, they get the shaft. So there doesn't really seem to be a right answer.
I think the one thing that we're going to definitely see out of this now is I think 100% we're seeing a bubble now for the playoffs. I think the NFL does not want this to happen at all during the playoffs, and now we've had this outbreak late in the season like we have now. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to do a smaller bubble just to make sure there's no playoff games that end up like this, where it's a Tuesday night game. And because, if you have a playoff game postponed, then what the fuck do you happen then? It'd be absolute mayhem, and Roger Goodell is going to have his hands tied.
Yeah, I could see maybe like the MLB did where they just designate 3 different stadiums as the playoff stadiums. That could probably be something that they would do. It's difficult because, they talked about it even with the NBA bubble. You're playing these guys in heated, contested playoff matches, and then you have to go see them two minutes after the game's over. It has the potential to be pretty volatile with all of these grown-ass men running around, super high levels of adrenaline, just trying to beat the crap out of each other for a world championship. So I think – it might. I think they'll probably just at this point keep the restrictions, maybe increase what the restrictions are, and then they're gonna have to figure out some sort of penalty. But Roger Goodell has had basically the whole time. This reminds me a lot of the NCAA when they came to the vote, and then nobody had put anything together when they came to the vote. So they're like, I guess we're voting it down. Nobody's playing this fall because we forgot to put anything in place. I feel that's what it feels like right now with Roger Goodell and these teams that are continuously having outbreaks and continuously getting the schedule messed up. speaking of getting things messed up, we're gonna transition out of COVID talk because that's no fun for anybody. And it's staying in the AFC North. We had a pretty big injury go down on Sunday. If you listen to our podcast this week, you know that I had a pretty rough week, and it wasn't a good time for me with football. Joe Burrow tore his ACL, MCL, and has other things going on in his knee. And it was the ending of a season that I think was better than anybody really expected with the team that he had there. But now it's obviously taking the Bengals out of any kind of playoff race. So what were the main thoughts? Because he did get a lot of support from everybody else on the field. I mean, everybody came over and wished him well. So what was everybody's thoughts on the Joe Burrow injury? Jim, I'll start with you since you're probably not going to be too nice to me on this one.
Too nice about what, Joe Burrow?
About my quarterback getting hurt, and now I got no chance left.
Well, you are the Bengals, so that's history about the Bengals. But you cannot – having a quarterback like him get hurt, a franchise quarterback get hurt, you can't – that's so unexpected. It was like I saw a tweet go, Joe Burrow's on the ground. I'm like, oh, shit, this ain't good. They usually don't tweet something like that if it's not serious. And CBS went over to coverage of that. I'm like, oh, that's definitely an ACL. I said in one of my other – I think I either said that on one of the other podcasts that I think Joe Burrow is and Patrick Mahomes are this generation's brace yourselves, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. They're up-and-comers, and I think they both have the skills. They just need more weapons and, of course, an offensive line, especially in Cincinnati. But Cincinnati was turning around. You could tell that team was turning around. You could tell that they were outperforming all expectations. Yes, they weren't going to compete for a playoff position. They could if it was like 8 teams, but they were right there. They weren't eliminated. But, yeah, that offensive line, you knew it was a matter of time something was going to fall, and that offensive line just couldn't protect them. And why would an offensive line block a defender into the knees/ankles of a quarterback? That's the first rule of thought as an offensive lineman.
Somebody else said it besides me. I thought I was going to have to be the one to say it. That's the first thing that you're taught as an offensive lineman not to do, is you never throw a guy back towards the quarterback's legs. It's just not – it's dangerous. It was reminiscent of Carson Palmer. I remember watching the game when Carson Palmer blew his knee in the 2005 wild card. It was that same sinking feeling. I was in the same boat. They said that there was an injury, and I didn't even catch that it was Joe Burrow's name until they said Ryan Finley was going to be the quarterback. And I went, oh, God, that's my bad backup quarterback. No. And watching the injury, it was bad, but it was made way worse because the guard fell on his leg too. I mean, it's one of the more gruesome knee injuries that I can remember. It's no Dak with his foot hanging off or anything like that, but it's a pretty gruesome injury.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen a lot of gruesome injuries throughout a couple of leagues, especially basketball over the last couple of years. Gordon Hayward and that's vividly in my mind. Yeah. Ankles and knees are not supposed to be pointing in that direction.
No, and you're not supposed to have somebody that heavy, especially he had 2 people roll up on his leg. So, I mean, Kelcey, in a way, did you think this could be beneficial for the Bengals at all? Since now you're not going to have to worry about him getting hurt at some point. He's already hurt, so it can't get any worse.
Yeah, look, the one thing is, yeah, the ACL, MCL sucks, but at least nowadays the procedures they're using for athletes is a much better procedure than it is for just a normal person getting an ACL, MCL repair. They actually intertwine the 2 muscles together to actually make it stronger. So that's a positive going forward. He'll have a stronger knee, so hopefully – and he won't have Alex Redmond blocking somebody into him anymore.
No, it's not Alex Redmond. I got that wrong when I tweeted it.
Was it? Okay.
Micah Jordan. Alex Redmond got cut in September, so I felt bad.
Okay.
I threw him under the bus.
And you got roasted by him, I heard.
Oh, I didn't get roasted by him. It was just weird that he decided to take time out of his day to just private message back some nobody on Twitter. Like,
nice.
I guess he doesn't have anything else better to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes that's how you get up in this world. You got to, falsely accuse people, and they blast you, and your name gets up there.
Well, yeah. He didn't have the decency to make it public. He wanted a private message instead. So.
So he DM'd you?
Yeah, he DM'd me. He didn't do anything other than that. And then he ended up blocking me. I didn't even have to block him. He blocked me. So I feel like I won.
Social media.
There you go. But this whole thing, man, I mean, honestly, you kind of saw it at the beginning of the season. The guy was already sacked 32 times going into the game against Washington. I mean, literally only behind Russell Wilson and one other quarterback. So you're talking, he's going up against that already. A guy who struggled to slide to begin with. He's already taken hits that he didn't need to. If there was ever an option to redshirt a guy, I would have redshirted Joe Burrow before the season and been like, yeah, we're not playing him until I have an offensive lineman here because this is not going to be worth it. It's not the worst case scenario for the Bengals. I mean, it's definitely something recoverable, but it's definitely not. It's not what you want by any means from your franchise quarterback in this year one to go down and especially to this type of injury. I mean, I was watching the game and all of a sudden you just see him on the ground and you're just like, you knew as soon as you saw him on the ground, like that guy doesn't stay on the ground ever.
No, he's shown that he's pretty tough. I mean, that lick that he took in the Fiesta, I think it was the Fiesta Bowl against UCF, where the nose guard got him on a back block on a pick six. Then he just got up and just shook it off, and then he threw four or five touchdowns on them. That's kind of the emergence of Joe Burrow. So I mean, he is a tough guy. So I think that's probably why I'm so optimistic about the situation. But looking at like that's three quarterbacks. I think that is three quarterbacks because I think Brandon Allen or whoever was a quarterback for the Redskins got hurt there too. But that's three quarterbacks that have gone down on FedEx Field now. So I mean, what is that like? How do we try and figure out what's going on there and try and mitigate this moving forward? Because the playing services have been kind of bad this year. I mean, three quarterbacks go down with pretty catastrophic leg injuries. At some point, I think the NFL's got to step in and do something. Niko, is there anything that they can kind of do to maybe get this to stop happening?
Well, first of all, Joe Burrow's injury wasn't the field. I mean, like we said, the O-lineman threw himself back into him, so that wasn't on him. But another thing to go back on what Jim was saying as well, like, if you really think Herbert and Burrow are this generation's Brady versus Manning, then you're sorry. Yeah, okay. I thought you said Burrow at first, but I was gonna say, but we forgot about Patrick Mahomes. He's only in his fourth year, so he's a long ways to go still. But either way, like. The one thing that like stood out to me during that game too was Joe Burrow had took a pretty bad hit too earlier on in the game. Like on the goal line, Chase Young hit him pretty hard, and the one thing I saw was there's no one backing him up. Joe Burrow is the heart and soul of that team, but you got to have someone that's an enforcer or whatever, something to back him up, and there was none of that whatsoever. I mean, I saw more sympathy out of Chase Young, McLaurin, and Dwayne Haskins to Joe Burrow than anyone else on that Bengals team. I'm just being dead honest, and that's just ridiculous. Although, yeah, they're Ohio State guys, and the OHIO thing it runs deep, but you got to be something better than that. I don't know if that's a coaching thing or if that's something in the organization, whatever it may be, but the fact that you just allow your star quarterback who has such great potential and could be an absolute star in this league, and you just let him go down like that is just ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, and that brings up, I mean, there's another point of discussion that I saw come up on ESPN. There's talk about a toxic locker room culture in Cincinnati.
I'd not be surprised. Even though I know you love them Bengals, Jimmy, but Joe Burrow is a stud, and I mean you got to be better than that as a team.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't come as a surprise. There was TJ Houshmandzadeh came out a couple of years ago and was talking about when he first got drafted to the team and how bad the culture was then. They were reissuing jock straps, so if you got cut, you had to turn in your playbook and your jock to the Bengals, and then you had to bring your own Gatorade to the facility. They didn't supply any of that, so they've gotten better than that since Marvin Lewis, and that's why. I mean, I hated Marvin Lewis towards the end of his career, but he at least got the team to be more professional. But that toxic culture is still definitely permeating throughout that franchise. DJ, what do you think of Joe Burrow? Now that his season's over, we can kind of take a look back and look at it as a whole. How do you think his rookie season went up until his injury?
I do think he was one of the top two guys for Rookie of the Year. If Herbert wasn't going insane, it'd probably be Burrow outright. So I will say top two Rookie of the Year candidate. Unfortunately, it's the positive news is ACLs happen so damn often. They're almost easier to heal from nowadays. I mean, we see people coming back in 6-7 months. So I could see Burrow being back for week 1 next year pretty comfortably. I mean, there's probably, 15 to 20 ACL injuries every year, it seems like now. Mm-hmm. So I think Burrow will be fine. And the positive side is they could get a top 5 pick and draft his boy Jamar Chase out of LSU and reunite them for your Bengals with T. Higgins. So there might be a silver lining in it down the line.
I'm hoping that the draft does go well, but I'm picking an offensive lineman before I pick any other help. I'm going to be stuck. I mean, I'm in my basement now. I'm going to be doing offensive line research until the draft comes up to see who the Bengals should pick. And I'll help Niko out a little bit.
And $100 million in free agency on every offensive lineman to ever suit up and not be under contract.
I don't like free agent offensive linemen. That's the one thing I can't stand is when a team decides to bring in a free agent offensive lineman to hold down a position is not good.
I think
I'll
the
go
one
for a
thing,
line for the Bengals. I mean, it can't be any worse. I'll do it.
yeah, I think the one thing with the Bengals too, though, is like if you gotta look at the rest of the season, if I forgot the name of that guy from Oregon, but that tackle from Oregon, if he's not there in the top when the Bengals pick, I think you gotta go defense as well because that's another thing that could help the Bengals out a lot. I don't think before the season started, I originally thought that Jamar Chase would have been the perfect pick for you, Jimmy, with the Bengals, just because Joe Burrow and that connection. But T. Higgins has played really, really well, so I'll give him that credit. So you don't really need a receiver right now unless AJ Green walks, but then you can sign a veteran receiver. But O-line or defensively is the position. It really just depends on where you are in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're 3, and I think that there's a good possibility that they lose out moving forward because they're starting Brandon Allen. They signed Brandon Allen from their practice squad, so Ryan Finley's not even getting the start. That's how bad that was going to be.
Hey, Brandon Allen, Denver Bronco, great. He won us a few games last year.
A game.
A
And he
game.
also had one of the worst offensive showings in NFL history.
And it was against a team that plays in your division in the Cleveland Browns. So there's a win.
I mean, yeah, it was the Browns last year, though, with Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens is a whole nother story.
With a middle school coach, let's be honest.
Yeah, Freddie Kitchens isn't smart. He was trying to eat the playbook on the sidelines. There's a whole bunch of things going on that was bad. We're kind of running. We're going to run short on time on this segment for this Zoom call, but we can get into it a little bit. Let's go the Hall of Fame real quick before we get into the recap. Some surprising people that I wanted to talk about on this list, but I wanted to bring up first guys that I would bring forth as first ballot Hall of Famers. Peyton Manning, obviously I know Niko's rocking the PFM jersey, so let's go. Is Peyton Manning? I know the answer already, but let's just put it out there for discussion. Peyton Manning, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
1,000,000%. He is the first person that should be on that ballot. He is no doubt a Hall of Famer. He is going to go in as a Colt, but I really don't care. That Bronco name will be next to him just because he did win a Super Bowl here, but he is no doubt a Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer. There should not be a question. Any person that votes that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer should have their vote removed, or they should never have another Hall of Fame vote ever again. That's just facts.
Is there anybody that disagrees? I mean, speak now or forever hold your peace. But I mean, I don't see an argument that you can make. But who knows? Maybe there is one that's out there that I'm not sure of. Anybody else? Kelcey?
Nah, Peyton's unanimous. He's if he's not a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't know what is at this point. I know there's a theory that no first ballot anything, but this guy, I mean, what he's done for the game. Forget it. Put him in the Hall. Don't even make him wait. Just give him the phone call right now today. Like, you're getting in the Hall. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go to Jim because I know that he's a Patriots fan, so he was obviously on the other side of the quarterback battle of the generation, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. As a guy who probably rooted for Tom Brady in all those matchups, do you still think of Peyton as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame on his first ballot?
Yes. He's Peyton Manning. Every time Brady and Peyton went up against each other, you're looking at the two best quarterbacks to ever play the game since 2000. So, yeah, if Jordan gets in the NBA and Barkley and Karl Malone and all those people during the Jordan era, yeah, Peyton belongs in the Hall of Fame in the Brady era. He deserves it. And plus, he has 2 championships. The question is, when you get in the debate, is when you get to his brother, but. Yeah. He's going to get in because of his name and because he has 2 championships. But Peyton is clear cut. He should be unanimous. No one. If someone votes against him, they should lose their NFL credentials. Period.
Retweet.
DJ, I know you're the Colts fan. Is there a defining moment to you that gives you like a Hall of Fame moment for Peyton Manning as a Colt? I'll ask you the same thing, Niko, since I'll vote for the Broncos. DJ, go ahead.
Probably in 1998 when they said with the first overall pick, the Colts take Peyton Manning. That was probably about a good time when it was locked in, but they might as well name the MVP trophy after Peyton Manning. So I think it's pretty safe. Is it any possible to get him before a first ballot Hall of Fame? But I don't think there's been a more clear-cut Hall of Fame choice maybe in the history of the NFL. I mean, arguable, debatable, but I think it's pretty clear he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of comebacks, but one of my favorites was against the Patriots when the Patriots decided to go for it on 4th and 2. That was my favorite moment for Peyton as a Colt, and then he finished the comeback. Niko, when he was with the Broncos, I know it was crazy when out in Denver. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing an orange 18 jersey. Any specific moment that stands out to you with Peyton's time as a Bronco?
Yeah, you still see 18 orange jerseys like the one I'm rocking. Like that's a namestay, and he brought life into this organization that we hadn't seen since Elway was around. And no slack to Jay Cutler, Tim Tebow, and Plummer, but I mean, Peyton Manning is the second greatest quarterback in Broncos history, behind John Elway. That's just how it is. Unfortunately, I mean, he's the second quarterback to win a Super Bowl for this organization. For me, the things that stand out for me the most would be when he broke had his 50th passing touchdown in a single season. I remember being at that game. That was one to remember with his pass to Demaryius Thomas. Still one of my favorite receivers that he ever had. But I mean, for me, it's easy. It's the Super Bowl win. Like I said, I mean, I was 1 year old and I was 2 years old when the Broncos won the Super Bowl the first time. So I really don't remember that very much. But getting to experience that and watching him up there hold that trophy, and then John Elway say this is for Pat after Pat said this is for John way back when. So that's one of my favorite sports moments by far, and Peyton, it would not have happened without Peyton.
No, did you skip school on Monday or Tuesday?
Oh,
Whenever the parade was?
100%. I skipped school.
At least I
was at the parade.
I wanted to make sure that I wasn't outing myself as the one guy who did it. But yeah, that was
no.
Even not as a Broncos fan, that parade was something special. 5 million people all in one place. It was crazy. So we'll go ahead and end this segment of the show just before we run out of time on the Zoom. And then when we come back, we'll talk more about the Hall of Fame list and get into the pick'em for next week.
Due to technical difficulties, and my dumbass doesn't know how to work the camera sometimes, we're going to have a small little ad. Except we don't have an ad. So we're going to plug the NFL UnHinged show on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
To noon.
Well, to noon. To 12. So it's a 2-hour show. How about that? 2-hour show. I'm going to have to wake my ass up that early at 8 a.m. But be sure to check me, Jimmy out, J-Dash guys, High-Low Sports as well. Man, all of us.
Gridiron Gallery.
Gridiron Gallery, a little bit of everything. Maybe we'll have more guests on. Who knows? Be sure to check us out on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, if you want to see what a budgeted Sam Ponder looks like, you can actually, I don't know if we're doing the video, but you'll be able to hear. I'll be moderating, and we got tons of opinions.
You can picture Sam Ponder, but hear Jimmy's voice.
Yeah, that's exactly. Everybody makes. I sound exactly like Sam Ponder, but that's coming up on the Unhinged Network live Sundays from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern time.
So without further ado, since we don't have another ad, let's go back to the show.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to NFL Unhinged. We left off talking about Peyton Manning, as he's kind of the marquee name on the modern era of semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Other notable names on the list here: another first ballot guy, Patrick Willis, a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, was one of the more dominant players of the mid-2000s to the mid kind of 20-teens. He played in San Francisco from 2007 to 2014. Kind of had a short career, only 7 years, but in that time, he was a 2-time All-Pro, I think 1-time second-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, absolute defensive force, and took over the mantra of the best linebacker in the league after Ray Lewis retired, I would say even kind of in the last years of Ray Lewis. So, I mean, Patrick Willis is not as much of a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, but he definitely has some case to be made. Kelcey, where do you think Patrick Willis falls in terms of the Hall of Fame?
I think he makes it in the Hall of Fame eventually. I don't think this is his year. I loved him, and I'm not taking anything away from what he did. He was a freak of a man. The dude was the definition of a sideline-to-sideline linebacker. He'd make a tackle anywhere on the field at any point in time, no matter who was running the ball. Whether it's 40 yards downfield or 10 yards in the backfield, he'd make a play when you needed it. The worst thing for him is his career just got cut short. I mean, 7 years is not a long time when you compare that to a lot of these 10-year, 12-year veterans that get in there. But in the 7 years, he was probably the most impactful player that's on this list. That's maybe not going to be a first ballot, probably second, possibly a third ballot if it gets to that point. But I don't think he's going to be a first ballot guy, but he makes a strong case for he's definitely going to make it to the Hall, just a matter of when.
Yeah, he probably loses a little bit, never having won a championship. He has the NFC Championship in 2012, and then the famous Super Bowl where the power went out halfway through the game, and the 49ers calling Kaepernick's greatest moment. In terms of Patrick Willis, DJ, I'll go to you. Where do you think he falls? Do you agree with Kelcey where he's probably not going to make it in right away, but he does make it at some point, or does there's just the length of his career kind of hurt him in this regard?
I do think he's a Hall of Fame player. I mean, in 7 years, he was an All-Pro 5 times. That's ridiculous. I mean, people play for 20 years and get 4 All-Pros. So I think he's a Hall of Fame player, but I kind of agree with Kelcey. I don't think he gets in this year. And I think the shorter career, though only playing for 7, 8 years, I think that's unfortunately going to hurt him. So it might be a little while before he gets in. Just the way people vote players in the Hall of Fame. And only a handful make it every year, but he's undoubtedly a Hall of Fame linebacker, one of the best to ever play. It's just a matter of if the people who vote take into account how long he played, but he's a Hall of Fame player, guaranteed.
Yeah, another guy I think about that had a lot of discussion of whether or not he was going to go into the Hall based on the length of his career was Terrell Davis, and he finally did make it in. Great running back for the Broncos. This list is kind of defensive heavy, honestly. There's a lot of good defensive names. 2 guys that I wanted to bring up because we got a fan of each team. I don't know if, Jim, if you claim Rodney Harrison because he didn't play – I think he played longer in San Diego than he did for New England. But Rodney Harrison, John Lynch, 2 safeties on this list. And between you two, I'm going to have you kind of debate it out. Jim, give me the reasons why Rodney Harrison is a Hall of Fame player to you, and do you think that he should go in before John Lynch?
First off, yes, I know he was a Patriot, but I think John Lynch is better than him. John Lynch, if you look at the history of John Lynch, especially down in Tampa, the guy was everywhere. Like everywhere you see in the secondary, he was there. Rodney Harrison was the same way, but overall, in my opinion, Lynch had a more longevity of a career. The only thing that Harrison got over Lynch is that he was a part of the Patriots and he has a couple of Super Bowl rings with the Patriots. But physically, I have to say John Lynch is better because he pretty much stand fast what a strong side or strong safety is. And I think he gets it over. Do I think both of them are in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Do I think they get in this year? Maybe Harrison because he's more, I hate to say it, but he's going to get more recognition because of his time in New England than
being on the Sunday night crew.
Exactly. And he's always in front of the TV and the limelight, especially, for instance, let's switch positions for a second, like Tony Baselli, one of the best left tackles to ever play the game. And he only played 7 years, and he's not going to get all the recognition because those 7 years he played 6 of them in Jacksonville when Jacksonville was actually good, and 1 or 2 years in Houston when Houston was becoming a new franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why he's got big over the last couple of months is because he was, I think, the first NFL player to come down with COVID earlier in the year, or former NFL player. But if you want to talk about Harrison and Lynch, they both are on TV all the time. You can see I think Lynch is on NFL Network. I think he's on.
He's the general manager of the 49ers.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's on the general for. I thought that's why you see him.
But he used to be a guy
Fox
for
Sports,
NFL,
right?
NFL Network.
NFL Network, but Harrison's on ESPN. See, God, there's so many damn channels with NFL.
He's on CNBC.
CNBC
Or NBC.
NBC.
Sorry, NBC, yeah.
CNBC is the news network. Okay.
Yeah,
But, yeah, I think Harrison gets in because he is more noticeable right now in the voting scheme of things. But Lynch, in my opinion, had a more solid of a career. But that's, 1A, 1B type of situation.
Niko, what do you think? I was trying to get you and Jim to get in a little bit of an argument, bringing up a guy who played for the Broncos. Didn't play for a Super Bowl for him, but I think they went to the AFC Championship one year he was here.
With Cutler, yep.
Yeah. What do you think about John Lynch? Do you think that he's finally going to get in this year?
Well, anyone that knows me knows that I wish the Broncos organization was set up the way the 49ers are. Because I wish Kyle Shanahan was our coach, because the dude's a Cherry Creek grad where both Jimmy and I went to high school. Jimmy's rocking the Creek sweatshirt. And John Lynch, a former Denver Bronco as well. I mean, I love John Elway as a player, but he's gotten Peyton here, but that's about it. If we had John Lynch has done a great job over there in San Francisco. I honestly think that John Lynch might be the waiting period where if he has a great general manager career, you could see him possibly go in as a general manager 20 years down the line, whatever it may be. I think it's going to be it's a tough discussion. I'm going to side with Rodney Harrison just because he won a Super Bowl. I think that's going to give him the edge over John Lynch. I think John Lynch I think he was on that Super Bowl team when the Bucs were there, but he lost.
He won. They won that year.
Okay, then I take that back. But people are going to recognize Rodney Harrison more. I don't think either of these guys are going to get in right away. Going on the Patrick Willis conversation as well, that might be tough too. I do love John Lynch. He was one of the best safeties we've ever had, alongside Steve Atwater as well back there. But it's a tough discussion. I think Ronnie Harrison is going to be. He's not first ballot. Neither of these guys are first ballot, in my opinion. I think maybe there'll be a year or two down the road. I think Patrick Willis gets in before both of them. And like you said, it's a defensive-heavy Hall of Fame list. So I think maybe these guys wait another year or two to get in. But I do think both these guys will be Hall of Famers.
With it being such a defensive-heavy list, one of the big offensive stars, a guy that we always talk about when we mention a team that played on Thanksgiving, so this will be a good way to segue into the games on Thanksgiving, Detroit. Calvin Johnson, his first time as a semifinalist, one of the most physically gifted, I think, hardest people to cover, just the way he can run, being 6'6" and 230 pounds. He was basically DK Metcalf before DK Metcalf. But he again was kind of wasted in Detroit, like a Barry Sanders, where he plays for a short time, never really gets the recognition. I mean, he should have had that catch in the playoffs. I still say, that was a catch. But what do we think about Calvin Johnson being on this list? Does he get hampered by the fact that he was in Detroit, or maybe does that help him because he was the best player on a bad team for most of his career? We'll start with Jim.
I think he gets in, but not this year. I think him being with Detroit is going to keep him from getting, unanimous or enough votes to get in this year. But when you think of Calvin Johnson, you think of a dominant wide receiver that always demanded double team coverage no matter where he was on the field. And also, you got to give where credit's due. The guy went to Georgia Tech in college. That was a triple option team. They didn't throw the football in college. And he goes to Detroit, and he becomes maybe one of the best receivers. I think on Thanksgiving I saw that Calvin Johnson and it was Andre Johnson, I think was, when there was a Lions and Texans the last time they played each other on Thanksgiving, they both went off for like 180 yards reception, two touchdowns. And it just tells you how dominant he was as a receiver. Unfortunately, it's Detroit, and I feel bad for Detroit fans because the two of the best stars ever play in Detroit never did anything championship-wise, but they did everything via the stats, and I think stats get you in. Championships help, but stats get you in, and I think he gets in just based on the stats. And it's going to take some time. Maybe not be this year. If he's in this year, he'll be one of the last ones that makes the cut. But I don't see it's bored between him and two other guys that are right there. But for us who grew up watching this football, Calvin Johnson was technically a DK Metcalf in a Randy Moss type of how can I say athletic ability, because that guy mossed everybody, and he was the size of DK. Maybe not as fast as DK, but he did his job, and he was one of the best receivers ever played. Stafford liked him, so unfortunately, his career got wasted away. So I think he's a Hall of Famer. I just don't think he is this year, and I won't be surprised if he barely makes it.
Yeah, I think he probably is the most difficult physical matchup that's probably played. There's maybe one or two other guys, but Kelcey, what do you think of Calvin Johnson when you think of Hall of Fame?
Look, I think he'll make the Hall, but I'm with Jim on this one. It's not going to be this year. As much as I want to give it to him this year, he's another guy shortened career due to injury at the end of his career. Playing in Detroit didn't help anything. But, look, the guy has all the credentials. I mean, literally the last great receiver I can think of that actually demanded a double team on the line with a bracket over the top. I mean, we're talking triple, quadruple coverages, and he's still getting open. It's something that, you don't really see. Julio Jones is capable of it, but Atlanta's offense is so inept they can't really get him the ball. But what Calvin did, I mean, he was the only offensive factor for years. They had a rotating back of running backs, Matthew Stafford in and out of the lineup, and Calvin Johnson's doing it with everybody. He's on this, looking at this list, it's going to be Calvin Johnson gets in, and then a bunch of other receivers will get in after him. Reggie Wayne is sitting here on this Hall of Fame list, and he has a chance. He deserves it, but he's not going to get in until Calvin gets in. And Calvin's, first ballot. No, I don't think it's going to happen. He might sneak in. I can't lie. He might sneak in. There might be enough fanboys kind of like us who saw him growing up that we know exactly how physically gifted he was and how much of a matchup issue he was, that he might sneak in. But I'm thinking next year for sure. This year, I can't see it really.
Niko and DJ, the question I'll pose to you guys: if Calvin Johnson has another quarterback, does he win a championship, and is it a little bit more given that he's going to make the Hall of Fame on the first ballot?
DJ, I'll let you go.
It depends who the other quarterback is. If you gave him, like, let's say Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, or any of the elite quarterbacks we've seen during his time frame, probably 100%, and it's not even as much of a question. I think, like we all kind of said, he is a Hall of Fame player. The question is, with his career shortened, I think he still gets in regardless, just because he is Calvin Johnson. I just think he ends up waiting a few years. And receivers never seem to get in on the first ballot besides Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, really. Terrell Owens waited a few years. Chris Carter waited God knows how long. Andre Reed waited who knows how long. So I think if Calvin does have a better quarterback, he probably gets in first or second year. But because he was played in the dumpster fire that is Detroit, it'll probably be 3 or 4 years down the line before he gets in, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that too. I think one person that opened the door for people like Calvin Johnson and Patrick Willis was Terrell Davis. TD getting in, having a shorter career and being injury bugged, although Patrick Willis and Calvin Johnson just called it early. I think that opened the door a lot more for players like that who didn't play as long but still put up great numbers for that time period. Terrell Davis is not on many top 10 lists of rushing yards, and Calvin Johnson won't be either, but he still put up a lot of great numbers in the short time he played. Do I think he's right now going to be in? I don't think so. The conversation with him, if he had a better quarterback, I think it'd be if he was a better organization, if we're being honest. Detroit has never gone over the hump really, and they've always been under the gutter, and it's just the way it is. I think I remember hearing something about there's a rumor about him possibly going to Green Bay and him joining Aaron Rodgers. And I think if that would have happened way back when, we could still be seeing that tandem playing right now. And that would have been a sight to see. It's unfortunate that he was stuck in Detroit, and Stafford is, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks statistically wise, but he's just stuck with no talent around him. And it's just very, very tough to win any games. I think Stafford has a lot of great talent. They're winning games when he had Calvin Johnson. They were. They were right in the playoff hunt almost every year. They weren't bottom seller like they are every year now. So it's unfortunate that Stafford's career has been stuck in Detroit, but I do think Megatron will be either – I don't think it's this year. I think maybe 2 or 3 years, but he definitely is a Hall of Famer, and I think TD is the person that helped him do that. That's for sure.
Yeah, Terrell Davis is going to be – he's one of the more influential guys that have been voted in recently. That will transition us into talking about some of the – we'll just mention the scores mainly because there was news that came out today that kind of overshadowed a game between 4 pretty mediocre teams. I think the Texans are better than what their record shows, but
mediocre is nice. That's a nice term for what they are.
The Texans destroyed the Lions at home 41-25 in the early game, and then Washington pounded on the Cowboys for a little bit to celebrate Thanksgiving 41-16. Sorry, Kelcey, but that's just what it is when it's congrats on Alex Smith on getting another win in his career, but that was just a thumping. But like I said, the main news coming out from those games, Matt Patricia and the GM, I can't think of his name. Bob Quinn. Detroit both got fired. It was 5 minutes before I sent out the outline for today's show, so it's only been a couple hours since then. Surprising that it took this long, surprising that it happened before Adam Gase. But where does this leave Detroit now as a franchise? DJ, where do you think this puts Detroit now as they start another rebuild with another new head coach?
To quote a certain basketball player that everyone seems to know, it's about damn time they fired him. I mean, it was a terrible hire in the first place. So I think it's only up from here as long as they don't hire Adam Gase if he gets fired, since he seems to get a job every time he's fired anyway. But I think if they depend on who they hire, it could be nothing but uphill. Going up from here. Like Brett Bielema, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, that'd be a great hire. Pair him with Stafford and rebuild from there. You have weapons. I mean, like we kind of talked about, Detroit as an organization is trash, but they have talent there. If you just get somebody who can lead the way at the top, get a GM and a head coach that work together, I think they'll be fine. I mean, Matt Eberflus, the D coordinator for the Colts. There's a lot of good options out there, I think, coming up. So It just depends on who they hire, and assuming they don't pull a Jets or a typical Detroit thing, I think they'll be okay moving forward.
Yeah, typical Detroit thing would be to hire Adam Gase once he finally gets let go. But who knows? At this point, I think he's got a lifetime contract or something on the management over in New York. Jim,
They're probably going to give him an extension.
yeah, probably something like that. Jim, Matt Patricia just adds to another guy who was off the Belichick coaching tree that went somewhere else, tried to be Belichick, and it didn't end up working out. Did you expect this from Matt Patricia, or did you expect him to be the guy that kind of broke the mold and did something in Detroit finally?
Well, when you see coaches come out of New England, everyone expects the Patriot way to go with them. It never works because Bill Belichick is the Patriot way. He's the one who established that type of coaching tree. He's the one that created how to manage and put together a franchise with certain pieces. And did I expect Patricia to be successful in Detroit? Not really, because no one's successful in Detroit. It's been ages since Detroit's been a playoff team. I think it was 2014 was our last time in the playoffs, or 2013. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Cowboys were also in the playoffs last time, so.
And that's when people say, well, he's a Patriot guy. Well, yeah, he worked good with the Patriots. And because he wasn't the one in charge, he was the one taking orders from Belichick. And it also does kind of help when you have a quarterback on the other side. Detroit does have a quarterback, but Matthew Stafford, he is not at the level of Brady. But we've seen multiple now assistants leave New England and just fail. Right now, the only guy left is the head coach down in Miami, and he's doing okay right now. And that's – I forgot the guy's name, but still.
Brian Flores. Flores looked good up until last week when they lost to Denver. But
but he's doing a lot better than Patricia and O'Brien did this season. So everyone says, oh, it's the Patriot way. It's the Patriot way. Yeah, it's the Patriot way because it's New England. It doesn't work anywhere else. And it's just going to take time. And I think Detroit, in my honest opinion, needs to go find themselves an offensive coach. I think they've had 2 defensive coaches back-to-back hires, so they need to find an offensive coach next. So that's my opinion about Detroit. And Patricia, in my opinion, might find himself back in New England because New England needs a defensive coordinator bad, and he's a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably still has a house up there somewhere because that's always kind of like a contingency. If Bill has a job, depending on how they finish out the season. I know he's going to have a job towards next season, but I think that's still a question that could be answered or asked. Niko, as a team, I mean, you and Kelcey, both your teams just hired new head coaches. Yours was a couple seasons ago. What do you think Detroit should look for in the next head coach to follow Matt Patricia?
Well, hold on. Let me cut you off really quick there. If Belichick has a job, Belichick will never be fired. He's going to retire, but the Patriots will never let him go. They'll tell him you need to retire, but they'll never quote unquote fire him. So let's just put that out there first of all. But Josh McDaniels, I mean, I dealt with Josh McDaniels in the first place. I mean, I said this about Gostowski in Tennessee, how he was a system kicker. Well, there's system coaches in New England, if we're being honest. If you look at, I mean, Brian Flores has done okay. O'Brien was terrible in Houston. And McDaniels probably won't ever get a head coaching job again because he's nothing without Tom Brady, if we're being honest. He's not used Cam to the way he could this year. It's unfortunate because Cam has a lot of great talent, but Bill Belichick has kept that team together, top to bottom, 100%. Patricia will probably find his way back to New England 100%. Like Jim said, they need a D coordinator, and will step right in probably, I would say even this year that he comes back because I wouldn't put that past Belichick. But the Lions do need to go look at Bieniemy kind of guy, or even look at the college ranks where you maybe go after a Lincoln Riley. I don't know. Maybe this is probably going to be a terrible hire, but look in your own state and go after Harbaugh at Michigan. Maybe Harbaugh wants to get himself back into the NFL. I think it's Jim Harbaugh, right? In Michigan, not John. John's in the NFL. But
Mel Tucker has experience.
Yeah, Mel Tucker. Yeah, don't even start with.
They were beating Northwestern before we.
Mel Tucker doesn't deserve the Michigan State job, but Harbaugh could see his way back to the NFL. I think that's a very big possibility. Who knows how that will work? Maybe he brings in a little more juice to that team because, like you said, the Lions are a Thanksgiving football team, but that's about it. No one really tunes into those games anymore because if you don't have Matthew Stafford on your fantasy football team, you really could care less what's going on. It's unfortunate. That's just the way organization has. I mean, You saw tweets today coming from Darius Slay and the guy from LA, Ashawn Robson, being like how Patricia told them that their careers were over and they weren't going to be anything on Detroit. Well, those two players right now are at the top of their games in different organizations, and Patricia's out of a job. So you got to find a coach with a good morale and a good leadership tone to it all. Patricia and people are still trying to find that New England way, but it's not going to come because, like I said, there's system coaches out there behind Bill Belichick.
Yeah, definitely. I know. You mentioned Cowboys hiring a new guy. First of all, Mike McCarthy might be on the market here shortly, anyways. So I don't know how much longer he's going to last in Dallas. It's awful, but he's a perfect example of just what Niko said. You got to have a guy who knows what he's doing, who's not a system guy, who didn't just ride the coattails of a great player. Which, yes, I am saying Mike McCarthy rode the coattails of great players. He was not a great coach by any means. Terrible hire for Dallas. So, looking at Detroit, Matt Patricia was an awful hire. You look at the talent they have there. You have 3 first-round guys on offense that they don't even use anymore. I mean, DeAndre Swift in and out of the backfield, Kerryon Johnson in and out of the backfield. The ghost of Adrian Peterson, who, by the way, is still putting up numbers, is somehow the feature back when you have 2 studs at running back who are all SEC caliber players, and you wasted top draft picks on them. Plus you have top draft pick receivers, TJ Hawkinson over there that's not getting the burn. And it's like, if you look at the talent on offense, they need an offensive coach to do this. So, Bieniemy in Kansas City is a great option. Harbaugh, as much as Harbaugh catches flack, I mean, the guy's a great NFL coach. He didn't, he made Kaepernick and Alex Smith, that duo, work when everybody said that duo is not going to be a combination to get you to the playoffs, and plug and play as he did, and they got him to the playoffs. They got him a lightning strike basically away from Super Bowl. I mean, it's crazy, but it might be a hire that works. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but it needs to be a full reboot, basically.
In the first place, they shouldn't have fired Jim Caldwell either. Caldwell was a winning coach, and they were on the verge of the playoffs every year. And then they saw Patricia's name came up on the coaching ranks, then thought they'd trigger hire him, and that just didn't work out.
Yeah, and everybody loves these Patriots guys, and they just need to stop. It's like Nick Saban's assistants. It's the same thing. It's just give it a rest.
Yeah, basically, it's been the comparison ever since Saban got to Alabama. Alabama's the New England of the NFL. We're gonna transition into the pick'em now because there's bragging rights on the line now. Everybody's kind of getting into it. It's a competitive thing. Niko likes to win, and he likes to talk trash when he does win. So let's see if somebody can unseat him. Niko did win last week. He had ended week 10-3. Jim, what'd you end up ending the week overall?
8-5.
Are you eating a W over there?
Yeah, I mean a
really,
W.
Jameis?
Yep.
All right, Jameis, calm down. You can't even start for your own team.
We eat W's.
Kelcey ended the last week with a 5-8 record. DJ, were you able to see what your record was from the first time you were on the show?
I believe it was 8-5 from a couple weeks ago.
So right in the middle, and then Zach last week finished 9-4 because he had the Bucks in the Monday night game. So he got a game on Jim, but didn't get one on Niko. Now we'll get into this one, and the first game that we'll start this week off with the Colts and Titans, basically a battle for this division. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. That was the first time that we had our NFL Unhinged show. They were playing, and now here we are again. But this is still basically the matchup that decides who's going to win this division. Houston's trying to play spoiler, and they're doing a pretty good job, but these are still the top 2 teams in the division. And since DJ is a Colts fan, I'll let you start. Colts and Titans, DJ, who comes out on top in this one?
Well, the Colts have like 4 players that just hit the COVID list, so can we reschedule for next Thursday? Just throwing that idea out there first off. But I will say, based on the first matchup how the Colts have played the last few weeks and my complete biasness, I'm going to pick the Colts to win. But with the injuries and the COVID list, and they're just going in the shorthanded. Phillips injured. They have like 17 questionables. They have backup offensive linemen in. It's going to be tough, and you have Derrick Henry's not human self coming in with 3 defensive linemen out. It'll be tough, but I'm going to still pick the Colts to win just because something about Tennessee doesn't quite add up this year. I think they basically beat the Ravens, and then everyone else it's 50-50 with them. So if you get Ryan Tannehill to play quarterback, you have a good chance.
Kelcey, I'll stick with you. Do you agree with your co-host? Are you picking the Colts, or are you going to go Titans, get this game back and try and take that division back from Indianapolis?
I hate to say it, but I kind of agree. Something's not right about Tennessee. I mean, you have Derrick Henry, the hoss, and you're not giving him the ball 2 straight times, and you're trying to be fancy and making Ryan Tannehill try to beat people, and it's just not the smart way to play. Um, but this injuries for Indy, I gotta say, are gonna kill him. Derrick Henry, I do think Tennessee gets it right. Vrabel gets it right. They handed off to Derrick Henry this week. I do think Tennessee pulls out the W, but something still doesn't feel right about Tennessee. I still don't think they win the division, but I do think Tennessee does win this game.
Jim, I'm going to you next. Where do you see this game going? Second time that we're picking this one on our NFL Pick'em.
Well, this is game right here would determine right now this playoff picture. This is the 4 versus the 5 seed, and whoever wins this will be the 4 or the 5 seed. It's basically whoever's going to host. If we do have a host type of situation, most likely will be in the bubble, from what Niko said earlier. I'm picking the Titans because I saw last week against the Ravens, I saw a Tennessee Titan team that didn't quit. And for some odd reason, when Titans play like they did against the Ravens and just keep going and keep, handing the ball off, they'll win the game. Problem is, like I said last week, if Tannehill starts throwing the ball around like he is Peyton Manning, they're going to lose. They got to get the rock to Henry, and for some odd reason, this seems like a fourth quarter battle with Tennessee winning at the end again, like they did last week against Baltimore. So give me the Titans.
All right, Niko, since you won last week, you're going to be last in the picks. What do you got for these guys? How are you going to defend your title?
Well, I mean, the high-low sports guys must have completely forgot what happened last week. I mean, like the Tennessee Titans dominated the Ravens. Sorry, excuse me. Although it went to overtime, they were dominating that game for the most part, and Derrick Henry was absolutely outstanding. And I don't think the Colts take 2 from Tennessee, in my opinion. That's how I look at it like this, because I said this last week with the Chiefs and Raiders. I don't think the Raiders take 2 from the Chiefs, and I don't think the Colts are in the position where they take 2 from the Titans. I think Vrabel will make adjustments. I think they'll be a better team now than they were 2 weeks ago. Like I said, I think that would be a trap game. That game 2 weeks back, even though I wasn't on the show, was a little bit of a trap game because Tennessee was looking forward to playing Baltimore again and going over there. But I'm picking the Titans as well because Derrick Henry, in my opinion, is the best running back in the NFL, and I'm a little bit of a closet Titans fan just because I like Derrick Henry and I like Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, even though they're not playing that much. But so I am a little bit of a closet Titans fan. So I'm going to pick the Titans here easily. A person that people aren't talking about either is A.J. Brown. Tannehill has found a pretty good connection with him. If they are forced to throw the ball, then he's just going to look for A.J. Brown every single time because he has had quietly a very good year.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, I think, he was the best receiver. Him and Deebo Samuel were tied for best receiver last year, and now A.J. Brown's making even more of a good case. Moving forward, the next game we'll talk about, Jim lives in Jacksonville, so he's kind of forced to follow the Jaguars. I don't know how much he's forced to do it because I heard you pick the Jaguars when I missed the show last week. So, Jim, I'm starting with you. I believe they're hosting. The Cleveland's going to Jacksonville. What do you think about this game?
First off, I didn't pick the Jaguars. That was Kelcey who picked the Jaguars. I picked the Steelers. But it's going to be deja vu from last week. Jaguars defense can't stop any good offense that knows how to throw the ball beyond 5 yards. Baker Mayfield's going to have all day. He's going to make great plays. And Jacksonville, what Jacksonville does this year is make good quarterbacks look great, make great quarterbacks look elite, and make elite quarterbacks look like legends. And Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. He's going to look great. So, Browns all day. I don't even see this game close. It's going to be like last week, a total blowout.
Kelcey, I'll take that. By the way, I thought I was mistaken. Kelcey, you're gonna keep your pick going with Jacksonville, or you're gonna switch sides now?
Yeah, no, never again. And I'm probably gonna lose this pick because I'm not going with Jacksonville. But no, I'm going Cleveland. And by the way, Niko, I did pick the Titans last game, so don't get it twisted. You agreed with me.
Yeah, my bad. I apologize.
But no, Cleveland in this one. I mean, Jim, everything Jim just said is right. They make good quarterbacks look great and mediocre quarterbacks look good. And, well, I don't know where Baker falls quite yet. He's still kind of trying to figure things out. He still doesn't have Odell, but they still have Nick Chubb, still have Kareem Hunt. Even if one of them's injured, they're still fantastic. So this is an easy Cleveland win.
All right, DJ, you sticking with that? Do you think that Jacksonville kind of pulls off an upset? I'll tell you, I'm hoping Jacksonville pulls off an upset because it works out better for the Bengals if they can lose a couple more games. But where do you see this one going on Sunday?
I think the Browns take it. I think they just run all over them. Chubb and Kareem Hunt probably get 100 each, but I think it's going to end up being a closer score, maybe like a 24-17 final score, just weirdly close because they can't pull away, and Jacksonville just hangs around for no reason whatsoever. It just ends up not being a blowout, kind of like when they played the Packers.
All right, defending champ, you're going to pick. Is this your upset for the week, or are you going to stick with? You're going to make sure that Jacksonville doesn't screw you over.
There's no shot. Jake Luton, I don't think he's starting this week. I think they have someone else starting. I got the name right, but I'm pretty sure they changed quarterbacks too, anyways. But I'm going the Browns. Like I said, the Jaguars are gonna have zero answer for Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Zero answer.
The quarterback starting in Jacksonville is the ex-Tampa Bay great Mike Lennon.
Yeah, that even makes the pick even better for me. There's zero chances Jaguars win this game. This is my lock of the week, my Drew lock of the week.
Okay, I'm not going to say Drew lock of the week because who knows what that means. But Niko's lock of the week is Jacksonville's going to lose to Cleveland at home. Now moving forward, we got the Bronco game coming up. We'll try and get through this one before we have to take another pause and finish this segment out in a little bit. But I'll start with Kelcey, Saints Broncos, and the Broncos did just get a pretty good win against a team in Miami who I thought they were going to lose to. Where do you see this one going?
Yeah, first of all, I don't know what you meant by the Drew lock of the week either. I mean, is he going to overthrow his receiver 30 yards downfield?
I did a play on words.
Okay.
It's a lock of the week, so I call it the Drew lock of the week. It works.
This isn't going to be Drew lock's week. This is the important part. This is all New Orleans all day long. I don't know what they did with Taysom Hill last week, but I was wrong. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He's Bo Jackson of the new era. I don't even know it. Like, what he did last week was outstanding, and I think it continues against Denver, who has not been great this year. So New Orleans all the way.
Fair point. The Broncos, they haven't had too many bad losses, but they're kind of up and down. DJ, do you think Drew Lock solidifies himself as the Broncos quarterback, or do you think that he kind of flounders against the Saints defense that's really good, especially with the addition of Quan?
I'm going to guess the Saints defense honestly takes it to him early and just kind of puts him in a hole. Drew Lock will look decent at some points, but I think the Saints will just be a little bit too much. They'll control the clock. Alvin Kamara will be Alvin Kamara. The usual, maybe 28-17, something like that. Comfortable Saints win. The entire Broncos team is injured, and Drew Lock's been he hasn't been a lock so far this year, so I'll give it to the Saints.
All right, Jim, what do you got for this one? I know your pick, but go ahead and tell the people who you're picking for this game, Saints and Broncos.
Well, last week I said the Falcons were going to pull off the upset of the week against the Saints, and I said that, I didn't trust the quarterback play in New Orleans, saying that the wrong quarterback was starting. Well, Taysom Hill pretty much told me to shut the F up, and you picked the Saints. So, yeah, I'm picking the Saints.
All right, Niko, your team, Saints Broncos. I know you picked the Broncos on our podcast. Does that change?
No, it doesn't change. Like, I'm not picking against my team while wearing the jersey. That's just not – like I said, I have room to spare because last week I killed all of y'all. So I have room to spare if I lose this one, whatever it may be. But I think the one thing people are discrediting the Broncos about, it was the pressure that Vic Fangio brought to Tua last week. I think it's going to be very similar this week. I think they're going to bring the pressure to Taysom Hill, try to keep him in the pocket. And if you're able to do that and keep it a low-scoring game, then there's a shot there. I think Shermer had a better game plan last week. If he sticks with that same game plan and runs the ball, I know it's going to be a lot harder, especially with Quan Alexander in the middle there for New Orleans. But I do think that the Broncos are going to win this game. This is my upset of the week. I got to pick one, so here's my upset of the week. I think it's going to be – I'm not confident. Very good team, top to bottom, but I do think that Fangio can scheme up a good defensive plan against Taysom Hill because, like we said, after you have 1 week of video footage on a player, it's a lot easier to game plan against. And I think the Broncos will be able to slow Taysom Hill down a lot more than the Falcons were able to last year. So I'll pick the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, Niko's going to be the sole Broncos pick. I don't disagree with anything that he's saying. I'm interested to see how Taysom Hill's going to go this weekend.
Also, he is going Mile High, too. Don't forget about that. Playing at mile above sea level is a little bit different, especially for your second career start.
I mean, he played in Utah, so he's used to some elevation. I'll give you that, but it is going to be different playing in Power Field at Mile High. With that, we're gonna take another pause, and we'll come back and finish out the rest of the pick'em for this week. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to NFL Unhinged. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If any of us want to chip in like the $300 for the private Zoom or whatever, so you get unlimited meetings, maybe that's something that we can look into. Go to the Fanatics link that we've been blasting all over Unhinged social media at Network Unhinged, and that'll help that out a little bit. Plus, you guys get good deals on some jerseys. Go ahead and get your collection going like Niko's. He talks about it every week about his jersey collection. We're in the middle of our pick'em. We just had the Saints-Broncos game picked. Niko's the lone Broncos fan in the group, so he's the one rocking with the boys in orange and blue. Next game, Chiefs and Buccaneers. And this one's interesting just because Jim watched Tom Brady for so long as a Patriots fan, and now he's in Tampa Bay. I know that you still love Brady. I know that he's still the GOAT to you. So I'll start with you. Chiefs, Buccaneers. What do we think? Because this is being kind of touted as a possible Super Bowl matchup. I don't know how much I believe that anymore in the last couple weeks. But what do you think is going to happen in this game on Sunday?
Touted as a Super Bowl matchup. Yes, I know how much I can put Tom Brady up as being the best quarterback of all time because he is, because of the 6 championships. He will basically be a legend. They can name every single reward of every quarterback named after Tom Brady. But no, not this week. Chiefs have too many weapons. And what I saw against the Rams was an offense that just didn't want to get out of their own way. And dear God, what the hell was Brady doing on that last pass play? That was 15 yards short of an open receiver, and it was a duck. I was watching them like, fourth quarter drive, here we go. Brady's going to win it for me, and I get the chance to do all the smoke on Unhinged. And a quacker came out of his arm, like quack, quack. I'm like, what the fuck, Brady? But yeah, Mahomes is just Kansas City, in my opinion. They're too legit. Tampa Bay, I can't put the finger on them. What type of team are they? And if the team that showed up against the Rams did, no way. Chiefs big. But I don't think Chiefs will win, but it's not going to be big. I think it's going to be like a 28-21 type of scenario. And again, watch Brady have the chance to win the game at the end like he has done almost every single game in his career. But, yeah, the Chiefs just have too much power. That offense in Tampa Bay is just – you have too many weapons and you just don't know what's going to happen to them. Their defense is pretty solid, but it's – I don't know. You're, 10, 12 games in the season and you still don't know an identity of your offense? That's an issue. And, yeah, the Chiefs know who they are, and the Chiefs are the best team, in my opinion, in the AFC, even though they have a loss to the Raiders, but still, I still think they're the best team in the AFC. Give me the Chiefs, like 28-20 type of score.
Anybody disagree? I mean, I'm sure that we all have the Chiefs. Anybody think it's going to be a blowout? Niko, do you think the Chiefs are just that good? They're going to blow out a pretty decent Tampa Bay team?
I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. Like, I think I'm going to agree with Jim. It's going to be a closer game. But I think the one thing that Tampa Bay has struggled with was they're completely going away from identity last year. They had one of the best receivers, the young receivers in the NFL last year, and they're just completely forgetting about him, and that's Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin had a fantastic year last year, and you had to add Antonio Brown and had to add Gronk to this offense, and now you have way too many people that there's only one football. Tom Brady can't do this. Yes, he had no options in New England, but now he has a lot more options. But you need your top guys, and then you need the role players, and there's way too many guys who demand the ball. O.J. Howard is a very underrated tight end as well. Gronk is Gronk, but I don't know, like he's not Gronk of 3 or 4 years ago. It's not the same guy. It's a problem too, because I mean, especially the backfield. Like Ronald Jones has done incredible out there, and you're still giving the ball to Leonard Fournette. That should not be happening either. It's ridiculous that Bruce Arians. I like him as a coach, but like his game plans have not been good. He hasn't found that identity, and like we said, we're 12 weeks in now, 13 weeks in now, and you're still trying to figure everything out. I don't agree with them signing Antonio Brown and going away from Chris Godwin, because Godwin could be a really good number 2 behind Mike Evans, and it's just baffling to me. I think the Chiefs know what they want to do. I think the Bucs have more options, but the Chiefs are a better, fundamentally sound team right now. The Bucs are still trying to figure things out this late in the season, and like I said, the Rams like last week, they should have beat that team. They should have, but Aaron Donald said otherwise, and Jared Goff had himself a game too, and Jared Goff has a type of game against the Bucs defense. Then who's going to say Patrick Mahomes isn't? So I'm picking the Chiefs here.
Yeah, Kelcey, do you agree? I mean, Bruce Arians and Tom Brady still arguing this late into the season isn't a good sign, but is there any way that they can pick up a win on Sunday?
Yeah, I don't. This was my preseason matchup for the Super Bowl. This was my call. Was Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and I didn't expect Tampa Bay to be this disarray this long on offense. I mean, you have Ronald Jones out here getting less than 2 yards a carry on 7 to 10 carries in games where you need him to carry you because your passing game. I don't know what was wrong with Tom Brady last week, but he's missing guys in between 20 yards out, 10 yards short. That was weird. It almost reminds me of Peyton Manning in his last season. Halfway through the season, all of a sudden the wheels just fell off. It's kind of reminds me of the same thing with him. And yeah, like Niko said, putting Leonard Fournette out there. What are you doing? The dude doesn't know how to run but a straight line. You give him a hole to cut back in, he's like, I'm going to run into my lineman over here. Forget that. But yeah, so this is the same thing. Kansas City, I mean, Kansas City's offense is it's rolling. Patty's rolling. Tampa Bay's not doing too many difficult things on defense as far as reads go, so they can't really fool Patty. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all of a sudden they pull something crazy out. But this team's too deep on offense in Kansas City, and we're not even talking about Le'Veon Bell when they brought in a former All-Pro guy, and all of a sudden, it's still Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell there just to sneak in and probably get you 100 yards on the ground easily, 50 yards out of the backfield, running or receiving. So yeah, it's Kansas City all the way.
DJ, anything different? Anything else to add for this matchup?
For the sake of fun, I'll be the contrarian. I'll pick Tampa Bay, but I'll basically say it as in I think they're going to back on Niko's point, they're going to get Chris Godwin involved and start putting him in the slot more, which is where I think he did some of his best work last year. When you give him a two-way go, it's hard for any defensive back to stay in front of him when you don't know if he can go in or out. And that puts Antonio Brown and Mike Evans isolated on the outside. One of them is going to be one-on-one. And Kansas City's secondary is not that good. Their edge rush is not too bad. Frank Clark's nice, but most of the pressure comes up the gut with Chris Jones. So I think they'll pinch the line. They'll make Chris Godwin in the slot, so they basically have to double team him. Then Antonio Brown and Mike Evans one-on-one on the outside will cause some damage. And Tampa Bay's defense has looked terrible the last few weeks, but I also still look back to what they did to Aaron Rodgers and offenses before. I think the defense has hit a slump, but you still have dominant pass rushers. Jason Pierre-Paul with 2 fingers is now catching interceptions all of a sudden. You still have Antoine Winfield Jr. back there. I think it'll be a shootout, 35-31, but I'll say Tampa Bay gets it done because they get Rojo going. And I think we see a Chris Godwin sighting from last year because they move him inside, where I think he does his best work.
He has 3 fingers, DJ. Give him a little bit more love.
2.5.
Yeah, he has a thumb and then 2, he goes like this, I think.
So two fingers and a thumb.
Yeah, 2 fingers and a thumb.
Don't play with
2
fireworks,
fingers,
kids.
one thumb, and a prosthetic.
Don't play with fireworks. That's the main message there. Don't mess around on the 4th of July. It's a serious thing. We got a couple more games we wanted to talk in depth about. Bears-Packers, the next one. I think it's the longest NFL rivalry, actually, Green Bay and Chicago. And it's still, I mean, they're still the 2 top teams in that division, but the Bears are not what we thought they were going into the season. Mitch Trubisky's not the answer, and Nick Foles has been not what he was in Philadelphia. So what do we think is going to happen this weekend in the AFC North matchup? Kelcey, I'm going to start with you. Bears-Packers, who do you got?
I still stand by Chicago was the biggest overachievers this season, and we just keep seeing them fall. Green Bay is going to walk away. I made the mistake of not picking them last week, but it was just more of my bias against Aaron Rodgers than anything. And no, it's Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Devontae is still playing like one of the best receivers in the game right now, top 3 easy, top 1 possibly. So it's Green Bay all the way.
All right, Jim, another really good quarterback, probably one of the greats of the generation, Aaron Rodgers. I think he's probably the biggest wasted talent just because he only has 1 championship, got a couple MVPs, but it doesn't mean a thing if you don't get rings at the end of the day. What do you think of this matchup, Aaron Rodgers? Does he go head-to-head with Khalil Mack? Do they get the job done, or do the Bears steal one away from the Packers?
You have Aaron Rodgers versus Mitch Trubisky this weekend? Give me Aaron Rodgers. Mitch Trubisky, there's a reason why he's been on the bench. It's because Foles is better than him, and Foles is not that great of a quarterback this year. He's not the savior that he was in Philly. Jesus, every time I think of that, just makes me sad. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks to play in our generation, and yeah, Packers win this, and they'll start pulling away in the NFC North and wrapping up a playoff berth here pretty soon.
DJ, is this the time where the Packers continue to get back on track in that playoff race? Is this where they kind of right the ship?
In Mitch Trubisky's defense, they are undefeated with him at quarterback, and they are averaging 26 points a game in his 3 games. So, I mean, he could be worse, but I'm still taking the Packers. It's Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams. And at the same time, they're coming off a tough loss to the Colts, too. I think they're going to come out with a vengeance against a division rival. They're not going to lose to Mitch Trubisky. I can't see it happening.
All right, Champ, what you got to say about this?
No one believes in fourth quarter Mitch? Damn, man. Jesus. However, man, like I'm going to say every single week I'm on this show, and that is Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. He deserves better. That organization has never drafted him an offensive weapon in the first round. The defense has not been great, but I do think this game is going to be a lot closer than what people think. I have a bad feeling that it's going to be very low scoring, and I think the Bears defense is very, very underrated. I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. There's no way in hell I'm going against one of those quarterbacks I love watching every week, and that's Aaron Rodgers. I'm going Packers as well, but I do think this is going to be a barn burner. I think that the Bears are going to be able to keep it low scoring. I think Khalil Mack is able to get some pressure on him, especially with Bakhtiari out. So I think that could be something that could be a story to help them out more. But I hate picking Trubisky, like I said, with everyone else on the show. Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback by far. The Bears have a better team, in my opinion, like top to bottom defensively. I think besides Devontae Adams, there's more weapons on the Bears, which is kind of hard to say because, Valdez-Scantling is the second option there in Green Bay, and that's not saying a whole lot. I think Aaron Jones is trying to get back in form because he had a hot start to start the season off, but he got hurt and it's kind of fallen off a little bit. So maybe we see him come back into form, but either way, I'm taking the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is still a bad, bad, bad man.
He probably does deserve a little bit better than what Green Bay's given him. They stuck with Mike McCarthy for way too long, and now he's proven that out in Dallas. The last game that we wanted to take a deep look into, best division in football still, the NFC West, still heating up, and then we got another big rivalry in division, 49ers at the Rams. I'm not sure who's all going to be playing for the 49ers. Talk about another team who's just been killed by injuries this season. But the Rams just coming off a huge Monday Night Football win, short week for them. Does Jared Goff keep the train rolling, and do they get a win over their in-state rival, the San Francisco 49ers? Jim, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I think he does. I think this is a chance for the Rams to get not really a guarantee win, but a chance to solidify that they are going to be one of the 3 teams in the West that are going to get that last wild card because, the NFC West has to be so thankful for the NFC trash can of the East. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a game. And Jared Goff, threw a lot of shade on me on Monday night. And maybe because it was that Niko smoke. I don't know what was the
all
most.
the smoke, Jim. I love chirping you guys. After that Cowboys pick and the last Monday night game where I took you down, Jim, I loved it because I did pick correctly.
And I have to say that Jared Goff gets this done and pretty much puts the Rams. I think they still technically they are currently leading the division out west by
they are
tiebreaker.
They're the top. They're got the spot in the playoff simulator.
So they got the head-to-head against Seattle.
Yep.
Okay, so they got it. So this one pretty much solidify them that they're going to be a top seed. But then again, I think they play the Seahawks, I think, next week or 2 weeks from now. So that will be the determining game of who wins the division. But this is going to be an entertaining game. San Francisco is – even their record doesn't show how they're – I'm not saying they're a great team, but they're very competitive for what their record shows. And that division is the toughest division and, honestly, the best division in the NFL. So I won't, be surprised what happens. But I'm going to pick Jared Goff and the Rams this week because of what they did to me last week. So –
Niko, Cherry Creek grad Kyle Shanahan leading his team. Do they get an upset? Do they kind of play spoiler in the Rams season, get themselves maybe back in a wild card spot?
Well, I mean, the one thing I want to talk about last week real quick was I was the only person on the show that even mentioned Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is an absolute animal for that Rams defense, and he holds that team accountable. He is the leader of that team. He does a fantastic job setting the tone on defense, and that makes life a lot easier on Jared Goff. Malcolm Brown has done okay, but Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, there's so many good weapons on the Rams that people just completely forget about that make Jared Goff look so much better than he is. I'm taking the Rams here. I do like the 49ers a lot. That division, like I said, is very, very tough, but I think it's just because the injury bug has hit them so hard. But I do think it's going to be a very competitive game. Like I said, if the 49ers were in the NFC East or whatever with the Cowboys and Eagles and everything, they'd be a number one. They'd be hosting a playoff game. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's just tough because Cardinals have had a great year. Seahawks are where they are, and now the Rams as well. That whole division, top to bottom, is fantastic. And like we said, the 49ers are going to be competitive for years to come. I don't know if Jimmy G is the answer going forward. Who knows what they do? Maybe they get a quarterback in next year's draft if they fall off a little bit, but whatever that may be. But I'm picking the Rams. I do like the 49ers for years to come because they still have a lot of talent. I think Mostert is back this week, so that might help them make it more competitive as well, but I'm picking the Rams.
Kelcey, you picking upset in this one? This could be it's a live upset, I think. The 49ers are kind of scary with if they get some people back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish I could pick the upset, but, we talk about COVID having an impact on the season. Well, it just hit the San Francisco 49ers in a big way. All their practice facilities and their stadium cannot be used for any activities anymore. Santa Clara County just passed that. So that's a huge issue. You lose your practice facility, you lose your home away from home, if you will, and you lose your actual home stadium. All in the same week, you have to go down to LA and play the Rams, who are surprising everybody right now. Aaron Donald did decide he wanted to be the best player in the game again, and well, he's showing that he can be that. Jared Goff proving that maybe last year was the fluke and not his first year, and so we'll see. I don't know. I think the Rams pull this one off though. Too much is going against San Francisco right now for them to get a W.
Again, Kelcey, he's never stopped being the best player in the game. I don't know what you mean.
He took last season off.
I don't know what you mean about again.
I don't know what you were watching,
He
but
still
he took
was
last
putting up
season
good
off.
numbers last year. The Rams just were not.
But he wasn't the best player in the league last year. That's the thing. I said best player in the league. He decided to be that guy. So it's honestly he is the best player in the league though, and until he decides not to be, it's his title. But if it's last season, he decided not to be.
Yes.
All right, DJ, last opinion on this game, and then we're going to kind of go rapid fire to finish things out and get the plugs done, take care of business for the network. What do you see in this game with the 49ers and the Rams?
I see the movie The Replacements and Shane Falco suiting up for the 49ers, I guess. I don't even know who they got left. So, I mean, if you can get that, then we got ourselves a live game. But I'll go with the Rams. They're cooking right now, and I don't even know who's playing for the 49ers. So, Rams can win comfortably. It's interdivision, so it'll probably only be a 10-point game. But I don't think it'll be in any jeopardy.
Hey, hopefully Mostert gets me some fantasy points because I need a win this week to get into the playoffs. So hopefully Mostert does good for me. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm picking a Rams win, but I hope Mostert plays well.
Garbage time yards still count.
There we go. That's kind of the main analysis of the show. We'll continue with the picks just so that we can talk some more trash on next week. We'll see if Macho Man Randy Savage, Niko, shows back up again next week. If he gets the dub or if you guys can finally knock him off his high horse. But let's just go down the rest of the line. Raiders, Falcons. DJ, who do you got in that one?
Raiders, they bounce back after a heartbreaker.
Jay, what do you think about this one?
Raiders.
Niko, Raiders.
Absolutely hate picking the Raiders wearing this jersey, but the Falcons suck. Broncos suck too. Yes, we lost to them. We lost both these teams very, very badly, but I'm picking the Raiders. God, I hate doing that too. Fuck.
Kelcey going with the upset?
I'm gonna go with the upset because right here I need to get some picks to get back in the lead on this board. So I'm going Falcons, man. Got to go with the two Alabama receivers on the outside.
Man, that's something. All right, I'll stick same question, Kelcey. Chargers, Bills now.
Ooh, Chargers, Bills, go Bills, easy. Josh Allen.
All right, DJ, what do you think of the Chargers and Bills?
Chargers surprise upset. Bills sometimes underperform. Justin Herbert goes off.
Niko, what do you got? You got to back up that title.
I
What
think
do you
this could be very well game of the week. Herbert and Allen are going to have a game to remember. But there's going to be no defense at all in this game, in my opinion. But I'm taking Josh Allen because he has better weapons around him right now than Justin Herbert.
All right, Nico's taking the Bills in a Pac-12 shootout. Jim, what do you think of this game?
Bills wrap up in AFC East.
That's got to taste like vinegar, huh? That doesn't sound good coming out of your mouth.
No.
All right.
Pac-12 shootout. Also, Josh Allen went to Wyoming, Jimmy.
I didn't say that he didn't.
I don't know. You said Pac-12 shootout between quarterbacks.
No, I know.
Herbert.
I'm saying Pac-12 just because they don't play defense. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not going based off location there.
That's fair.
Well,
You
the
tried to
WAC
catch me,
plays
but I
type
knew what I
of-
was talking about.
That's
I
fair.
say
That's
the
fair. My
WAC
bad,
does
my
play
bad.
like a Pac-12 style offense.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Moving on. We don't have to spend too much time on this one. Giants, Bengals. Niko, what do you got? You picking the Bengals on this one?
Damn, man, I really wanted to do this for you, Jimmy, because I like Brandon Allen a little bit, but I would not be surprised if Bengals win. I'm calling it right now. I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm picking the Giants. Daniel Jones has played okay. He's played decently, but Brandon Allen still, it's not the answer. And Bengals are not functional organization right now without Joe Burrow, especially. So I'm picking Giants.
Kelcey, is this a game where you can kind of get a game back, do you think? You're picking the upset?
Nah, I got to go with the Giants on this one. If Joe Mixon was 100% healthy and guaranteed to be back, I'd say I'd give it a chance because anything can happen with the Trash Can East. But, yeah, no, I mean, this is the Giants one to win.
DJ, what do you think? You picking the Giants to take another step in that race to see who's the worst, best team?
Giants are actually playing for something, as much as it kills me to say that, so I think they'll come out ready to play. And the Bengals, you're missing Joe squared. That's going to hurt. So I'll go with the Giants, but I'll hate it.
Yeah, missing that duo is not going to be good for anybody. Jim, what do you think about this game? I'm sure you can't. You hate picking the Giants, but what do you think about this one?
Yeah, New York. It's going to be an ugly one, but New York. I don't think Cincinnati has the mindset to win this game.
I don't even have anything to argue back with anybody, so we're just going to leave that there. Everybody's picking a clean sweep for the Giants. I hope that it doesn't happen, but it probably will. Panthers, Vikings, Kelcey, where do you think of this one?
I might be able to sneak a win back on this one. I'm going Panthers. They just look really good lately. Keep deciding to take the top off of defenses. In Minnesota, I mean, I still don't get, other than Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson, I don't know what I'm getting every week. I don't. It's mostly Dalvin Cook. So yeah, I'm going with the Carolina Panthers.
Jim, is PJ Walker starting again, the XFL great, or is it going to be something different?
No, it's Philip Walker, and he's starting.
All right, what do you think about this one?
Dalvin Cook.
Okay, you're picking the Vikings, I assume.
What happened when you said that last time, Jim?
He plays for a crappy team, but he is the best running back to ever play at Florida State, so I'm picking Dalvin Cook.
Oh, all right, there we go. Jim's got the Vikings in that one. DJ, who do you got? Panthers, Vikings. Who kind of rises to the top in this one?
I'll take the Vikings just because no CMC and no Teddy, and then yes, Dalvin Cook. So yeah, Dalvin goes for like 150.
All right, Niko, you got faith in Matt Rule for this one?
Now, like I said with Taysom Hill, similar to the Broncos situation, the Vikings now have a game plan that can play against PJ Walker. So I trust that they're going to play better defensively. I think the Vikings went away from Dalvin Cook last week against the Cowboys, but I think they get back to it this week. So I'm going Vikings.
All right, Niko, still with you. Next game, Cardinals, Patriots. Who do you got in that one?
Going to be a very good game. Two quarterbacks who one. I think Kyler Murray is very similar to what Cam Newton was at the beginning of his career. I'm going to the Cardinals here, though, because Kyler Murray is one of the best quarterbacks right now in the NFL, and him and DeAndre Hopkins is in my opinion, the best wide receiver quarterback duo in the NFL. I don't think the Patriots have a defensive answer for that, so I'm going Cardinals.
Jim, do you think that your boys can bounce back? I mean, it's been a rough stretch of the season, but is this a game that they can maybe get themselves back right?
No. That defense is horrific. Murray is too dominant. Arizona's offense is explosive, and that just spells disaster for the Patriots, who struggle to get a first down. Arizona big.
DJ, who do you got? The former Offensive Rookie of the Year, the former NFL MVP, and it's going to surprise you which one was which. But I mean, Kyler Murray or Cam Newton. Who do you got in this one?
Kyler Murray is dinged up coming into the game, but I still think the Cardinals win. Kenyon Drake will go off. They'll be fine.
Kelcey, you got a different opinion?
I 100% want to say that this is Cam Newton's game to play, but I can't do it out of good conscience. It's Arizona.
All right, clean sweep for Arizona.
This game does worry me a little bit, though, considering it's in Foxborough. For some reason, I don't think it's right that we did a clean sweep here, but it does worry me a little bit.
Oh, you can change your pick. You don't have to.
No, I'm not changing my pick. I'm not changing my pick. It
Right.
worries me more than some of the other games.
Nobody wants to give an inch in the NFL pick'em. We keep moving right along. Dolphins, Jets, battle of the AFC East. Dolphins got to bounce back after a tough loss, and the Jets. I mean, if the Jets lose, Niko's got to wear a Jets jersey on the next episode of Far End of the Bench. So I know what you guys are going to be rooting for. But Jim, we'll start with you. Another AFC East matchup. Who do you got in this one?
Niko's going to be wearing that jersey. Give me the Jets.
Oh man! Oh, you guys make this too easy on me, man.
Oh,
you guys make this like these pickups are too easy for me to win. Why do you keep doing this? God
Kelcey,
damn.
what do you think about this one?
No, look, I mean, I'm going Miami, but Brian
Thank
Flores
you,
is having a
Kelcey.
coach of the year type of year. Unfortunately, it's for a not great record team, but he is coaching like a coach of the year.
Niko, you ready to wear that green and white? What do you think about this one?
There is zero chance in hell I wear a Jets jersey on the far end of the bench. They're not winning a game this year. I'm gonna win $200 because I took that bet eight weeks back, and I'm gonna win $200 when they go 0-16. Dolphins. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Fitzpatrick, Tua, doesn't matter. Brian Flores is a better coach than Adam Gase, and there is no shot that the Jets win this game. Zero shot.
All right.
Another lock of the week.
There's another lock of the week. DJ, do you think that the Dolphins will be able to bounce back? I mean, it's tough for a team to go 0-16, so I'm kind of leaning towards maybe the Jets finding a win at some point. But is this week? Is that what's going to happen?
I second everything Niko said, plus throw on top of that, Brian Flores helped to have Sam Darnold seeing ghosts last year, so the ghosts of Christmas past come back.
There we go. Almost into Christmas season, almost into December.
In my defense, the only reason why I'm picking the Jets is so Niko can wear the Jets jersey.
Oh, don't worry. I won't have to worry about wearing that for a while. Maybe I'll get a Trevor Lawrence jersey when they get 0-16, just for the hell of it to piss.
No, the Jets are going to win the game, and the Jaguars are going to draft.
Look, you're gonna have to wear the Jets uniform, the dress jersey here too.
Okay, I'll do that too. But either way, like I don't know. This is the most winnable game for the Jets in the schedule left. Everything else they're going to lose by far, but this is the most winnable game left, 100%. If they don't win this, they're going 0-16.
All right, here we go. Finishing up the week, Seahawks at the Eagles, a playoff matchup last year, if you can believe that. Jim, I'll start with you. Who do you got in this one?
Seahawks, big.
All right, Niko, what do you think about this one?
Eagles, I think we see a Jalen Hurts sighting, but the Seahawks are going to win this game easily. DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson is a sight to behold as well. I'm picking Seahawks.
All right, high-low guys, we'll wrap this one up with you. I'll start with DJ. What do you think?
Seahawks win. Tyler Lockett goes ballistic, but somehow Carson Wentz doesn't look terrible. Only turns it over twice.
Only twice. Damn, that's pretty nice. DJ.
Kelcey, do you think that the Eagles can keep that half-game lead on the AFC or the NFC Beast?
Look, my pick'em is riding on this, and I will never pick the Eagles in anything where I have something riding on it. So it's always Seahawks. I mean, Tyler Lockett's arguably one of the best receivers we've seen in a decade, just for how intelligent he is. Add on top of that, you got DK Metcalf's freakishness. Yeah, this is too much of a matchup for Philly.
Jimmy went dark mode 6 over there on us.
Yeah, I don't know. I got my dogs barking too. Things are coming unhinged at this point. Last game, we'll just go quickly who we think is going to win. Ravens, Steelers. Hopefully it happens next Tuesday. Niko, I'll start with you.
Man, it's a tough one. I don't think the Steelers are going to go undefeated, but the Ravens are just too much in shambles. I'm picking the Steelers.
All right, Kelcey, what do you think about this one? Hopefully it happens.
I said it last week. I will refuse to pick the Steelers until they lose. Plus, they have Ben Roethlisberger on their team, so Baltimore with a win.
That's a good nickname, Jimmy. You're going to have to remember that one now.
I've used it before. Trust me. I've put every combination of those two words together probably.
Yep, so.
All right, Jim, last game of the pick'em. What do you think happens in this one?
If they do play this game, Rotten Cheeseburger is not going to be so rotten this week. Give me Pittsburgh.
All right, DJ, you going to go with Rotten Booger? Are you going to pick the Steelers again in this one?
If this game plays, RG3 has a flashback and pulls off the dub somehow. He did beat them last year in Week 17.
Hey, no Trace McSorley? You don't trust the god Trace McSorley?
He's got the COVID too. It's literally RG3 a buck, so hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
It's fair.
All right, that's going to be the end of this week's NFL Pick'em. We're wrapping up the show here. I'm going to give the guys a little bit of time to plug everything that they need to, and I'll start with Jim, since you are the founder of the Unhinged Sports Network. Where can people find you and plug your show and times and everything?
You can catch an all-new J-Dash show this Monday at 9 a.m. only on the Unhinged Sports Network, also at Network Unhinged, and also Fanatics.com. Link in the bio, 70% off until Monday. Thank you, Fanatics, for being a partner with us. So Unhinged is Fanatics. So at Unhinged, at Network Unhinged, that's where I can find me. I show up now.
All right. Good. Thank you to Fanatics for starting the partnership with the Unhinged Sports Network. Kelcey, I'll let you speak for the High Low Sports Podcast. Where can they find you and DJ?
Yeah, so you can find DJ and I every Thursday on the on the Unhinged Sports Network, High Low Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, you know the places. Yeah, and shout out to Fanatics, man. Partnership with them. If you guys need a jersey, any team, any sport, that's the place to go, fanatics.com. All of our bios have the link in it, so be sure to check that out.
Niko, I'll let you do it for us. I'll let you give the breakdown for the people, since you're the defending champ.
Of course, man. We're at the far end of the bench podcast. We're located out of the Mile High City. This is nothing new. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter at FEOTV Pod. We also have a YouTube page, so you can watch this if you're listening to this on the Network Unhinged. Go over the YouTube page. Go over the far end of the bench. You can see our pretty faces and us bantering back and forth. Even though Jimmy went dark mode 6 over there, whatever it may be, but you can still see me and Kelcey's face at the end of the show. So you can see us over there, man. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of great stuff. Like I said, I'm gonna say it again. Go get yourself a jersey, man. There's a 70% off site-wide sale on Fanatics. Shout out to those guys over there, man. They're helping us out. We're helping them out. A little bit of everything. It's a great thing over there. There's a lot of good, cool stuff on there. I saw they have basketball shooter sleeves. I caught me one for my adult league basketball games coming up forward. There's so much good stuff. You don't want to miss out on anything there. But follow me and Jimmy on there. We interact with everybody. Go like, subscribe on Spotify, Apple. We're on everything you can think of, whatever it may be. Go and then listen to us on Network Unhinged on Wednesdays, 1 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time.
DJ, anything before we wrap this thing up? Anything you want to leave the people with?
Just wanted to kind of pour some water on Niko's parade. All the Broncos quarterbacks just got ruled ineligible due to COVID, so it looks like Royce Freeman's taking the snaps against the Saints.
Oh my God! Great. This is
fantastic. Wow! Way to bring the tone of the show down.
Oh, fuck me!
Without further ado, this has been NFL.
I changed my Jets pick to the Dolphins.
This has been NFL Unhinged. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, Jim from the J-Dash Show, Kelcey and DJ from the High Low Sports Podcast, and my co-host Niko Bryant on the far end of the bench. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Be sure to tune in next week.
Peace.